Hello, friends. In this video, we want to share the stories of people who have recently left this world. Their lives and legacies deserve to be remembered, and we hope you will discover something meaningful about them today. Before we begin, please subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Now, let's get started.
On September 10, 2025, Charlie Kirk was fatally shot while speaking at a Turning Point USA event held at Utah Valley University. He was 31 years old. Charlie Kirk rose to prominence as the co-founder of Turning Point USA, an organization he launched at age 18 to mobilize conservative students and promote constitutionalist, anti-woke messaging on America's college campuses. Through energetic rallies, viral social media engagement, and media appearances, he became known as a powerful voice and organizer for young conservatives and a loyal ally of Donald Trump. Kirk's talent for stirring up debate, building a media platform, and blending populist message with Christian conservative values made him one of the most recognizable figures on the American right by his early 30s. Charles James Kirk was born on October 14, 1993, and grew up in the Chicago suburbs of Arlington Heights and Prospect Heights, Illinois. His parents instilled strong faith values. His mother worked in mental health, and his father was an architect. From an early age, Charlie showed an active interest in politics. In high school, he volunteered on campaign efforts and joined the Boy Scouts, reaching the rank of Eagle Scout, echoes of discipline and leadership that would shape his later path. He briefly attended Harper College, but dropped out to devote himself fully to political activism. In 2012, at just 18 years old, Charlie Kirk co-founded Turning Point USA along with Bill Montgomery. What began as a small campus group quickly expanded into a nationwide network with scholarships, speaker events, and chapters on thousands of campuses. His bold initiatives included Professor Watch List and School Board Watch List, controversial programs aimed at holding educators and local school officials accountable, programs that drew both enthusiastic support and intense criticism. Over the years, Kirk launched additional arms of the movement, Turning Point Action to back candidates aligned with conservative values, and Turning Point Faith to deepen engagement with evangelical Christian communities. Kirk's rise was fueled by his media savvy. He hosted The Charlie Kirk Show, a daily talk program that reached hundreds of thousands of listeners. He became a regular on cable news, spoke at Trump campaign rallies, and authored a series of political books, titles like Time for a Turning Point, Campus Battlefield, The MAGA Doctrine, The College Scam, and Right-Wing Revolution, that argued that college campuses and institutions were failing America's youth. He cultivated a massive following online, with millions across TikTok, X, YouTube, and other platforms, using short, confrontational video clips to mobilize young conservatives. In the final days before his death, Charlie Kirk was touring campuses once more on his American Comeback Tour, with the theme, Prove Me Wrong, aimed at generating debate, support, and youth turnout in the political sphere. At 31, he had built an empire of activism, book sales, media production, and political influence, yet remained restless, eager to expand his platform and sharpen his message. We mourn the loss of Charlie Kirk, not just a figure in contemporary conservative politics, but a man who believed deeply in his mission to shape a new generation. His energy, conviction, and boldness divided many, yet inspired others. May his memory serve as a reminder of both the power of a single voice and the immense responsibility that comes with that power.
Agnesa Peterson died on September 10, 2025, just one day after her 89th birthday, leaving behind a legacy as one of the elegant and respected actresses of Soviet and Russian theater and film. She was best known for her work on stage at the Vakhtankov State Academic Drama Theater in Moscow, and for her haunting performances in several classic Soviet films. Her name carried weight among theatergoers who admired her subtle expressiveness, her capacity to inhabit characters with quiet dignity, and the grace with which she handled both comedic and dramatic roles. In 1991, she was honored with the title of Honored Artist of the RSFSR, a recognition of her many years contributing to the performing arts. Born on September 9, 1936, in what is today Estonia, Agnesa was raised in a time of upheaval, during political changes, shifting borders, and in a culture deeply touched by history. She showed early interest in the stage and performance, captivated by stories and by the power of conveying emotion. For her education, she went to Moscow, and in 1960 she graduated from the theater school named after Boris Shukshin, the Shukshin School, studying under the tutelage of V.K. Lvova. In the same year, after her graduation, she was accepted into the company of the Vakhtankov Theater, where she remained an actress for decades, becoming a part of that theater's shining tradition. Over the years, she built a steady reputation. She was not a flashy celebrity in the sense of constant headlines, but she was deeply respected among her peers for professionalism, for showing up, for the way she preserved the discipline of rehearsal, the reverence for the text, for building character from the inside out. She weathered the changing tides of Soviet and Russian theater, political pressures, changing cultural expectations, the fluctuations of state support, and she remained steady. There were times of scarcity, when funding for productions was tight, roles fewer, expectations heavier. Yet she persevered, continuously adapting while staying true to her craft. Her voice, her timing, her command of subtle gestures meant that even when she was not center stage, she made scenes richer, lives more believable, moments more lasting. In her final years, she was less visible on stage and less frequently in film, but the reverence for what she represented never faded. She was older, yes, her steps slower, her voice softer, perhaps more reflective. Audiences who had grown up watching her saw in her presence not just the roles she had played, but the integrity she lived by. She had long outlived many of her contemporaries, and each loss among them echoed in her work, in her quiet moments behind the curtain. Her legacy was not built on headlines, but on countless small performances, small kindnesses, small gestures of care to young actors, students, listeners, people in the audience who needed her. Agnesa Peterson had been an artist defined by grace under pressure, by voice and presence rather than spectacle, a woman whose life was lived in service of theater, of art, of touching hearts. We mourn the passing of a life devoted to beauty, sincerity, and the enduring truth that even the softest voice, used well, can echo across generations. May her memory remain in every whispered line, every trembling pause, every bow she offered under the lights.
Francesco Trapani died on September 11, 2025, in Rome at the age of 68, leaving behind an extraordinary legacy as a visionary leader in the world of luxury. He was widely celebrated for transforming Bulgari from a storied family jewelry business into a global luxury powerhouse. Under Trapani's leadership, which began in 1984 when he assumed the role of CEO at just 27, Bulgari expanded beyond exquisite jewelry to include watches, fragrances, leather goods, and even luxury hospitality.
He orchestrated the company's public offering in 1995, launching it onto international capital markets and enabling explosive growth. In 2011, he guided Bulgari into a landmark acquisition by LVMH, ensuring its enduring prestige within the wider portfolio of luxury names. His career spanned decades, defined by creativity, strategic expansion, and deep influence on how modern luxury brands operate. Born in 1957 in Rome, Francesco Trapani was the son of a prominent surgeon and Lia Bulgari, the granddaughter of Bulgari's founder. He grew up immersed in the legacy and craftsmanship of his family's tradition, yet pursued formal education in economics at the University of Naples and later business administration courses at New York University. These academic foundations tempered his inherited pedigree with intellectual rigor and global perspective, preparing him to lead an ambitious transformation of the family business. His early career within Bulgari began around 1981 when he joined the firm in an assistant role to the chief financial officer. He quickly demonstrated clarity of vision and business acumen. 3 years later, he became CEO, launching an era of strategic modernization. He reorganized operations, reinforced branding, and invested in design innovation, all while safeguarding Bulgari's artisanal authenticity and heritage. Key milestones marked his dynamic tenure. The launch of Bulgari Hotels and Resorts in partnership with a leading global hospitality group, the successful initial public offering in Milan, the brand's steady march into major Asian, American, and European markets, and the diversification into high-end accessories and fashion. Francesco navigated economic recessions, shifting consumer tastes, and increasing global competition with a calm determination. His philosophy was centered on preserving the brand's prestige without compromising accessibility or craftsmanship. After the sale to LVMH, Trapani continued to influence the industry. He oversaw Bulgari's integration into the luxury conglomerate and led its watches and jewelry division for several years. Later, he turned to investment and private equity, holding leadership and advisory roles in companies such as Clepsydra, Bluebell Capital, Tiffany, and others, where he applied his strategic insight to help other brands grow and evolve. In the final days of his life, Trapani was surrounded by family and colleagues who admired not just his business brilliance, but his gracious temperament. He faced illness with the same quiet resolve that defined his career, steadfast, dignified, and thoughtful. The luxury world mourned the loss of a leader who balanced tradition with modernity, heritage with innovation. He had been more than a CEO, a custodian of beauty, a strategist, a mentor to many, and a builder of elegant legacies. May the world remember Francesco Trapani for his passion for excellence, his vision that elevated an Italian house to global prominence, and the generous, cultivated humanity behind the man who wore the Bulgari name with pride.
Celine Dion was born on March 30, 1968, in the small town of Charlemagne, Quebec, the youngest of 14 children in a working-class family. Despite their modest circumstances, the Dion household was filled with music, laughter, and a deep sense of togetherness. Her parents, Aymar and Thérèse, owned a small piano bar, and it was there that Celine absorbed the rhythms of chanson, folk, and pop that poured into her from siblings and patrons. She grew up in a lively atmosphere where rehearsals, impromptu performances, and the sound of a guitar or accordion were as natural as the daily bread on the table. From her earliest years, her voice stood out, clear, piercing, and filled with emotion well beyond her age. At just 5 years old, she sang at her brother's wedding, leaving the guests astonished by the maturity of her sound. Her family recognized her extraordinary gift and began encouraging her with small performances at the family's bar, where she stood shyly at first, but soon discovered the thrill of commanding a room's attention. These moments planted the seeds of the career that would one day make her a global icon. Her formal education was unremarkable compared to her musical upbringing. School was often overshadowed by the daily struggle of helping at home and by the magnetic pull of music itself. What she lacked in academic polish, she made up for in discipline and raw determination. In her world, success didn't come from theory or books, but from persistence, practice, and the ability to pour her soul into song. Her siblings, deeply supportive, often accompanied her, creating harmonies and pushing her to experiment with range and tone. The turning point came when Celine, at 12 years old, recorded a demo of her first song, co-written with her mother and brother Jacques. That tape, sent to manager René Angelil, would change her life. Angelil was so convinced of her potential that he took the enormous risk of mortgaging his house to finance her first album. For a young girl from Charlemagne, this act of faith was the bridge between humble beginnings and the path to stardom. Her earliest performances outside Quebec revealed a young singer with an uncanny ability to connect to audiences. She wasn't just singing notes, she was transmitting stories, heartbreaks, and dreams, even when she barely had life experience to draw from. Her youth made her vulnerable, but it also made her authentic, and audiences responded with warmth. Slowly, step by step, she transitioned from singing in family bars to performing on the stages of Quebec and France, becoming a name whispered with admiration among those who had heard her sing. Her beginnings were a blend of sacrifice, determination, and serendipity. A childhood sculpted by poverty, but gilded with the richness of song. That unique blend of humility and brilliance would remain the foundation of her identity, even as the world began to recognize her as one of the greatest voices of all time.
Celine's voice, already admired in Quebec, began to carry across the Atlantic. In the mid-1980s, she represented Switzerland at the Eurovision Song Contest in 1988, held in Dublin, and won the competition with Ne partez pas sans moi. This victory didn't just bring her a trophy, it placed her before millions of viewers and introduced her to a European audience that immediately recognized the force of her talent. Eurovision became the springboard that transformed her from a promising local singer into a rising international star. At this stage, René Angelil's vision for her was clear. If Celine wanted to become a global phenomenon, she had to master English and release albums in the language that dominated the global music industry. For a young woman who spoke only French, the challenge was daunting. But Celine embraced it with characteristic discipline. She studied English intensively in the United States, often working with tutors by day and practicing pronunciation by night. Her determination was unrelenting. Every misstep in grammar or accent was another chance to improve. Her first English-language album, Unison, 1990, introduced her to North American audiences. The single, Where Does My Heart Beat Now?, climbed the Billboard charts, showing that Celine could reach not only the hearts of francophones, but also the vast English-speaking market. From that moment, her career took on a new trajectory. She was no longer only the pride of Quebec, she was becoming a household name far beyond Canadian borders. During these years, Celine's life was shaped by intense work and sacrifice. She toured relentlessly, adjusted to the pressures of the music industry, and refined her stage presence. Yet she always carried with her the grounding influence of her large family
and the unwavering support of Angelil, whose professional guidance gradually intertwined with their personal bond. Their relationship, though controversial at first because of the age difference, became one of the defining partnerships of her life. By the early 1990s, Celine had already begun to collaborate with some of the biggest names in music. Her duet with Peabo Bryson on Beauty and the Beast, 1991, the theme song for Disney's animated classic, became an instant hit and won both an Academy Award and a Grammy. This song was more than just a success. It was a declaration that Celine had arrived on the world stage as a voice synonymous with grandeur, emotion, and timeless melodies. Her breakthrough years laid the groundwork for the legendary career that followed. What had started in a small Quebecois town now expanded into sold-out concerts, prestigious awards, and the undeniable sense that a new superstar was rising. Celine Dion was no longer a hidden gem of Canada or Europe. She was stepping firmly into the realm of global icons.
In her later years, Celine Dion's life became a story not only of triumph, but also of resilience and vulnerability. After decades of touring the world and dominating charts, she made a bold decision in 2003 to settle in Las Vegas, where she launched her groundbreaking residency at Caesars Palace. Initially doubted by critics, the show became one of the most successful residencies in music history, running for over 16 years and redefining Las Vegas as a destination for world-class performances. Night after night, her voice filled the Colosseum, drawing millions of fans who traveled across the globe to hear her sing. Behind the stage lights, however, life brought challenges. Celine and René expanded their family in 2010 with the birth of twin sons, Nelson and Eddie, a moment of joy that illuminated her world. Yet in the years that followed, sorrow entered her life when René, her lifelong partner and manager, passed away in 2016 after a long battle with illness. His death left a profound emptiness in her heart, and Celine often spoke about how she learned to carry on for the sake of her children, channeling her grief into strength. Health struggles also began to shape her later career. Whispers of her fragile frame and declining stamina became more prominent in the late 2010s, and in 2022, she revealed her diagnosis with stiff person syndrome, a rare neurological disorder. The illness forced her to cancel tours and pause public performances, a devastating reality for someone who had always lived through her voice. Still, even in the face of these difficulties, she remained open, courageous, and graceful, sharing her journey with honesty and resilience. Celine's later years became less about the bright lights of global tours and more about legacy, family, and survival. She continued to inspire millions, not only with her music, but with her perseverance. Fans worldwide admired her courage to face pain, loss, and illness without losing her humility and compassion. She was remembered not only as one of the greatest singers in modern history, but also as a woman who embodied dedication, love, and authenticity. Her songs became eternal companions to moments of joy and sorrow, and her presence left an indelible mark on popular culture. Even as her health kept her from the stage, her voice remained alive in recordings, in memories, and in the hearts of her listeners.